I can hear you bullshitting this paper right now. Like, literally, you are like...
It's 3 a.m. It's due in 4 hours.
I'm so mad because it's definitely in 16 font and not double-spaced.
Oh, God. Zac, just...
Comic Sans.
I wouldn't go that far. I want my paper to be accepted, so...
Mm-hmm.
Why are you
But,
like
what do you want to know?
Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to The Box, the Annie chat box where 3 friends are stuck in a teeny tiny space until somebody adopts us so we can talk with them about all things anime. My name is Cami and I am your host on this episode 128, but of course I am not alone. Joining me in the box, there is our producer extraordinaire and one of my very best friends in the whole wide world, Cassie.
Oh, I was just gonna make meow meow sounds, but now I just feel humbled. Meow meow.
Yay, thank you. I didn't want to miss out on the meow meow sounds. Much appreciated. And also roped in with us today, there is a fellow animal lover and our friend, you know him from Save Our Progress. We're joined by Zac.
Sup?
Also known as a literal can of food.
Yeah, check our Twitter for that one, folks. And then comment and say, what the fuck, Zac, so he won't pull this kind of shenanigan ever again.
You know, what the fuck, Zac, like, real.
Please.
It'll just be a slow pan and him drinking night coffee.
Oh my god!
And also holding a can of cat food.
The Curb Enthusiasm theme plays. Just that...
No. I'm gonna go to, like, Zazzle.com. I'm gonna take this cropped picture of the can of cat food, imprint it on a coffee mug for you, mail it to you, and be like, this is your night coffee mug now, Zac.
Every time I make one of these decisions, I imagine Cammy's face is kind of like that character, Ben from Parks and Rec, where he looks at the camera, like, they just look of, like, shakes his head, and like, no, just no. Because that's what I tend to do when I hear something like that going on. I just look at the imaginary camera in my life and just like, no.
I need that as a Cammy reactionary gif, actually. If you could just make that happen, that'd be great.
Yo, folks, if any of these ideas intrigue you as potential patron rewards, hit us up at anniechatmail@gmail.com. But to get us back a little bit on track, Zac is here to join us, and we have a main topic today. We're going to be talking to you all about healing anime. Oh. Healing anime, could call it feel-good anime, just those good things. And I have a few talking points, but before that, I did want to open the floor up to Cassie, because you suggested this topic, and I just wondered if anything inspired it recently.
Well, it may or may not have been the anime we are watching for today's review, but I will jump around and see if I can say it without spoiling that that's definitely what it is. So while I was watching Redacted, I realized that watching the redacted animal was filling me with feelings of, I don't know, like how to describe it, just feelings of catharsis about what it's like to receive animal therapy like I do from my cat all the time. And I got kind of like secondhand feelings from the show, as the main character also felt healing and family from a place that was unexpected. When I got my cat Killua years ago, I was also in the throes of depression. I'd had to move several times. I was in heavy amounts of debt. I'd been hospitalized not long before that due to reasons, and I was just really low in life, and I was looking at this cat at the pet store, and I was like, I really want that cat, and my roommate at the time said, Cassie, buy the cat, and I said, no, I can't do that. And then we went to the Target, and as we were walking past to the pet store again, I was like, man, I want that cat. And they were like, if you don't fucking go buy that cat, I'm going to go in and buy that cat for you. And long story short, they are my beautiful feline friend Killua now, and they actually did provide me with a level of healing that I don't know if I could have gotten necessarily from a human, companion, because it's just an unspoken friendship that you have that's just completely different than what you have with anybody else. And I think that the anime we watched together, name is Redacted, also gave me those feelings and reminded me of that important connection that I have in my life. And I think that it was a really good experience for me to have, and also may have had me, kind of tearing up for no particular reason at several points during an anime that I wasn't entirely sure I was going to like as of the first couple of episodes. So I wanted to think about other anime that may have given me a similar feeling or also had me reflect on things in my life that have been good and reminded me that every breath I breathe is actually fucking worth it. So yeah, feel good anime.
Very well said. Yeah. When I initially approached this topic, I thought about, at least for me, I do find that a lot of shows that heal me or make me feel really happy, get those relaxed, warm, and fuzzies, tend to fall in the very stereotypical, like, iyashikei, calm, like, low-key, slice-of-life genre. But another thing that I think I realized as far as healing anime that I like is that if it has animals, there's a pretty high chance that it's going to be one of those ones that makes me happy. Let me hit you with a short little list here. So there is Natsume's Book of Friends, which has a fat cat, Nyanko Sensei, who's in there. Laid Back Camp has so many dogs at just random unexpected times. There are cats in Croisé in a Foreign Labyrinth. There are animals in Silver Spoon. That's kind of the central topic of Silver Spoon. And even in that show, which is more of like a kind of school life, almost like shonen-y type thing, like the presence of animals just made me feel really, really happy. I've recently been watching a show called Aria, and there are cat mascots in it, and one of them makes me so happy every single time he is on screen. And I think I just realized, I was like, yeah, if there are animals in it, that's a big plus for me. That's a big comfort win. Probably for similar reasons that Cassie so eloquently expressed in just talking about her own story. Like, animals are nice, and I like them in my healing anime. But yeah, are there aspects that either of you find are apparent in anime that tend to make you feel good?
Zac, it's your turn.
Is it? Well, she said
Yeah.
you guys, so...
Yeah, but I talked for like 4 minutes. It's your turn.
Oh, it's because this was a hard topic for me because I don't watch many healing, at least at the typical slice of life, yashikei type anime. So it's like, this was kind of hard for me to come up with. When you guys broached the topic, I joked and named a bunch of violent anime that I never really seen in myself either. So...
It's okay.
We'll get a reaction. So
it's okay. I went that route earlier today because, because the only reason we have tacos or Taco Bell tonight is because Craig mentioned maybe that they would want to go, and Dominic hounded them until eventually they wanted to go. And eventually I was just like, I don't know, I just appreciate Dominic's hustle. And Craig's like, Cassie, you appreciate anybody's hustle. And I was like, I don't know. I don't remember the last time I was like, wow, that serial killer, love his hustle. Things like that. So I get you. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing to fall back on, murder.
Yeah, murder's
and I mean,
pretty soft.
I'm glad. I'm glad to know. I am glad to. I'm looking at the camera, by the way. That expression that you stated earlier. But I was gonna say, I mean, I'm glad that those shows in particular that you mentioned are not your type of feel-good anime.
No, I don't really watch a lot of violent things to begin with, or apparently soft boy things, or girls, or slice of life things.
And that's okay.
But you do watch Fruits Basket.
I mean, I like feeling things and broken people, I guess, too. So that's fine. That's what drew me onto that show. I mean, you can't get a catharsis out of, like, feeling emotions, I guess, when you really need to, So, or what I was thinking for the top is like familiar, like going back to things that are familiar. Like I go back to Miyazaki movies a lot, so like I think those are good. Or like in our recent AMN episode, we talked about Kiki's and how that's kind of like a nice soft feel to it, going back to it.
Yes.
And revisiting that show or movie rather, and or Porco Rosso, because talking about my great big pig son.
Your great big son. I'm sorry. That's awesome.
Of all the things I never thought Zac would say in a sentence.
My great pig son. Wow, I can't even say that.
My great big pig. Say that 10 times fast.
I won't, because I already messed up trying to say it normally. So
Annie Chatbox tongue twister challenge.
But I think that you make a good point, whereas I think, like, at least for me, I do fall into very stereotypical, like, what are healing or feel-good anime, but the definition of healing and feel-good that people get from anime varies from person to person, and it will change, like, genres and what kind of shows they are. So I think your joke spiraled a good talking point, so thank you for that as the host of this episode. Thank you.
No problem. Though when I was trying to think about it, I remember watching Mushishi is one of those shows I thought was a nice, soft, relaxing show. Even though if you think about it a little too much, it's a little dark and creepy at times if you think about it. But the way the tone of the show is, it's very soft, relaxing. I watched that show over the course of like a month, because I can only watch like an episode at a time, because it's very episodic, but also very relaxing. Because I would get usually sleepies when I would watch the show. Not in a like bad, this boring way. Just it's such a relaxing show to watch at times.
Yeah, I actually watch Mushishi as well as kind of a bedtime anime. And I'll do those occasionally, where I'll have a show and I pop an episode on before I want to go to bed to help me get to sleep. And Mushishi definitely was one. Sometimes it was bad because I'd fall asleep like halfway through an episode.
Yeah, I've done that too with things. So
yeah. But no, I get that. Even in some of its darker tones, just the mood of Mushishi is so tranquil for the most part.
It is.
So
the color palette, like it's very like light, and then like the soft music to it, and so on and so forth. With the slower pace of it.
It's a good one. That's a good one.
No, I just agree. Mushishi is on my my list of things I really want to go back to, because I remember years ago we used to do this thing called rock paper scissors anime.
All right, we did this. That's how I watched Inu X Boku.
Yeah,
you watched Inu X Boku, Zac?
The first episode. So the way that this is actually a really fun game, and we should totally do it as a group one night, because it's really, really fun. But me, Zac, and I think Craig. I don't think anybody else was there. I think it was just us three all the time. No, I think Pete was there one time. But anyway, The point is you play virtual rock, paper, scissors. And whoever wins gets to introduce the entire group to an anime of their choice, the first episode. And we went in a circle. And one of those times, I believe it was Zac picked Mushishi.
Yeah, probably.
And I watched the first episode and I was like, damn, this was really good and impactful, and the atmosphere was perfect. God, I need to get back to this. Never did. But I
never got back to Inu X Boku or Polar Bear Cafe.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think that one of the ones I did was March Comes In Like a Lion, and you're definitely going to finish that one day. You will. Speaking of anime that have made me feel cathartic.
That was a threat.
Oh, I'm very upfront with what I want people to see. But yeah, March Comes In Like a Lion is also like a cathartic piece for me as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why it kind of is at this point edged Hunter x Hunter out as my favorite anime. Because there are just times in my day where I just think back to scenes from that show, from both the first season and the second season. And I'm like, this show visually, in its story, but also visually just represented depression and pain, and also coming out of that depression and pain in such beautiful ways that it just makes me unable to look away. And also it made me reflect on my own depression, and how things just looked so blurry all the time, and how everything around me just seemed so like unreachable. And then when I had these moments where I just kind of came out of the water,
I got you. I get you.
I don't get it.
You will one day.
Well, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that, Zach?
It's okay.
Polar
We'll fix
Bear
it.
Cafe's fault.
But yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, that show is just so good. And also, there's a dog that gets a hug by the end of the first season, so there's that too for Cammy, I guess.
I've watched it. Yes.
Yeah, I know you did. If anything, this is one of those shows that I feel like we really bonded over, me and Cammy, and still do. And it makes me really want to check out Chika Umino's other works, because just her storytelling is just so cathartic, and it's so just very human in a lot of ways that I don't think that people come to, because that's the thing, I don't think people come to anime to feel that kind of stuff. Not all the time. And that's why shows like that are just really gems and diamonds in the rough, because in an anime year where almost everything is an isekai, you find these little gems that actually just make you think about what it is to be human, and helps you reflect on yourself. And I just love pieces like March Comes In Like a Lion that do just that.
Or
another healing piece.
A good one is sometimes things to go back to make you laugh.
Yes.
I go back and watch.
Yes.
I've rewatched Daily Lives of High School Boys several times with several different people. So sometimes because you need to feel good, and laughter is a good way to make you feel good.
Do you know one I thought about for you, Zach, that I wasn't sure if you'd mention? I wondered if technically Hinamatsuri in the same way is a healing show for you.
I have not gone back to rewatch that show recently, so it could be. I just haven't felt the need to go back and rewatch it. While Day of Lives, I definitely have rewatched several times with several different people. So
the crazy thing is Hinamatsuri is one of those crazy rides where I went into that show thinking it was consistently going to make me laugh, and it did. It totally did. But then I got to the end of a couple episodes, and I'm like, am I crying? Like,
yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah. Oh, man. Legendary.
Legend. Wait for it. No, you have to keep talking. I have to finish it later.
Oh.
For the
okay.
bit.
Oh.
God.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes. Okay.
I think definitely that's another brand where it shows that you can go back to make you laugh. I think for me, one, strangely enough, since I bought it, is like School Rumble. I can, if I'm like sick and I feel sad or something, I can go turn on any episode of that because linear storylines, who the fuck needs them? And I've seen it enough times. But like that one will definitely cheer me up, make me feel good. I think Ouran High School Host Club also fits in that same vein for me. And then there's the nostalgia factor, which you mentioned can also be very feel good.
I think that if we're going with comedy, I just looked over at my bookshelf and I saw my big, beautiful box set of Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun. And yeah, that show's good. That's it. That's all I got.
That's a good one. I wonder, have either of you had a show that was healing or helped you at a very specific time, but it's not necessarily one that you have or have thought about going back to yet? Just for example, I watched Violet Evergarden at a time where I'd been holding on to a lot of just like feelings that needed release. And goddamn, that show made me cry a lot and made me feel things. And it was very much like what I needed in that moment. But it's not a show at this point that I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to just go watch Violet Evergarden again. Because it was a very intense, like heavy, loaded piece. Mm-hmm. And it helped me in a time and I really value it for that. But again, it's not one of those ones that I will turn on, you know, every time that I need like a pick-me-up or something like that.
That I'd have to give some thought to.
Words.
Yeah, words
Makes
are hard
sense.
for me today. I'm going to think about that for a little bit because I'm not
sure.
I can think of an anime that helped me at a very specific time. Because, like, for example, March Comes In Like a Lion did, and A Silent Voice got me at the perfect time because I was also dealing with some feelings of both self-loathing, but also being in a state of, I don't know if it's the right word, but like feeling like I was a victim of just like everything around me. And that movie really helped me like look into myself and reevaluate myself as a person at that specific at that specific moment in time that I watched it, which is really impressive for that movie because I had already read the source material. So I knew what was coming, but the way that it was presented in a movie format and an anime format really helped me feel cathartic. But I feel like I could go back to that movie at any time just because I love it so much. I'm trying to think of something where I'm like, this was amazing in the moment, but I'm done for now. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, that's tough because there are moments in peak moments in my life too, but nothing like that I'm trying to think of.
It's it's like an amazing question, but I'm just trying to.
And it doesn't even necessarily, I guess, have to be that you like don't want to go through it again, but like it's not one that you're like, yeah, I'd want to turn that on like maybe every day. Yeah, it could just be something like that. Like,
you know what? I think I got one.
Ooh. Okay.
I think Hugto Precure had its moment, and it's still one of my favorite animes, and probably, I don't know, depending on the day of week, I might say it's one of my favorite magical girls, period. But I don't think I'm going to go back to it anytime soon, mostly because of its sheer length.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But also, I feel like that show, I just need some distance and time from it so I can go back and feel that feeling of just childhood wonderment and happiness again. Because that's what Hugto Precure gave me. It just, like, every week, it just wowed me with how much I loved these girls kicking ass and throwing around, like, beams and shit. Like, and not like beams, like, you know, from a wand. Like, they actually picked up construction beams and bashed people's heads in. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I love the feeling of girl power and family and empowerment in that show. And also just, that's another show that very subtly deals with depression, growing up, and not wanting to let time pass. And it's also really heavy and not something I could handle necessarily right now in my life. So I think I do need some time away from Hugto Precure, but I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you can totally still love them and be very thankful to them. And I think that's, even for me, I think that's a great answer as well, because I really loved Hugto Precure in the moment, but the length and also I think just like sometimes there's also the organic feeling that a show can gives you and wanting to like capture that in a bottle. I think another one for me that's like I will have to be in a specific mood for, even though I love it and like I have had some time away from it, is like Girls Last Tour.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I love Girls Last Tour. It really made me evaluate a lot of things just about life and existence as a human being. There's a lot of philosophy talk in there and caring about like the mundane, but like I do need space in between watching that show. Mm-hmm. But it's really good, and actually, Zach, I recommend that one to you. You should check it out.
Actually, yeah. I think Zach would really like Girls Last Tour. Like, if you can get past, like, the art style.
I mean, I find the art style one of the more interesting things, because it's so different looking than everything else. I actually prefer things looking different than the usual anime norm, I guess.
For sure.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
You should watch it, or we should put it on our list of things to watch while we're also watching
yes.
movies.
Yes.
See, in terms of what you guys have been saying, One Piece is a show I will never go back to because it's really fucking
That's
long.
fair.
But it's but there are moments that get me. I can't remember who I was talking to. It was definitely one of you two, probably Cass, where I was like, there's a series of ramen-based commercials in Japan.
You brought this up like a week ago.
And they're just like focusing on characters, but they're like reanimated in high school. So they're all high school age versions, but they're like getting the bits of like their character, their like the center of their characters, their goals, and like cutesy little thing like referencing stuff up, but more in a high school setting. And this one was the second one they did. The first one's on Zoro, and the second one was on Nami, and it just focuses on Nami's character, and they're going to work at this restaurant, blah, blah, blah. And then there's this bit where she's flashing to all these different memories. And one of it is that she thinks of like her adopted mom who died in the show. And then she's just like, I can't do this. It's too hard. And then Luffy puts his hat behind her. He's like, don't worry about it. I got your back, basically. And tears right there in my eyes. Because that's just reenacting a particular scene in that movie or that show where Nami is just like this elusive character, and when she finally breaks down, has a hard time because dealing with her past and like the specific villain at the time, she breaks out crying, saying, "I need your help," and then Luffy just gives her his hat to hold on to. He's like, "Don't worry, we'll take care of each other because we're family, and then we're gonna go take care of this for you." So,
that's awesome.
But that show's really fucking long. I'll never go back to it.
Are you still watching it, or are you just keeping up with the manga at this point?
Mostly the manga, but I revisit that manga on and off, and the anime on and off. Though I hear the anime suffers a lot of pacing issues, but though I hear the recent arc they're on got a massive like facelift up because the director of Dragon Ball Super Broly has taken over as like the production lead of that arc, so the art style like completely changes to fit what that movie looks like.
Weird.
Yeah. So I kind of like have been interested, but I have to go through and read through an entire arc to catch up. So.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're honestly making good time, but if anybody wanted to just bullet shout out or like highlight other healing anime titles, you could totally feel free to. I listed off mine at the top of the topic, so go for it.
Clannad After Story.
Specifically After Story.
Ooh, that's a good one.
You and girls left Thor made me think of that.
Zach, here's my question. Would you go back to Land of the Lustrous, the TV series? I know you keep up with the manga.
Yeah, the official release at least. I don't know. I have not gone back to the anime in recent time. The only time I kind of like revisited that portion of the story is when when I decided to read the manga. I started over from the beginning because I want to see if there was like missing bits and so on and so forth, or view it from that perspective, at least from the art style of the mangaka. But I don't know. I think so because I consider the anime really good, and I would love to see more of that. I'm not a big... usually when I get into the manga things, I usually have a hard time going back to watching the anime. Look at My Hero Academia was an example of like I read the manga first, so that first 2 seasons I had to like drag my body through it to like watch it because I was like, I've seen this already. It's kind of boring. But Land of the Lustrous, reading the manga, I was like, damn, go through it because I haven't even seen the anime, and I still want to kind of go back and just rewatch that anime at some point. Not sure when I will get to it, but
gotcha. Cassie, I did want to ask specifically After Story or the whole thing, like the first season and the second season for you?
Both seasons, but I think After Story had the more cathartic experience.
Okay.
I do think that the first season is solid, but I think that if I were to go back, I'd look forward more to watching After Story. And I joked earlier about Madoka Magica, but I think that when I watched that, because I was watching it as it aired back in, I think it was like 2013 or something. And I feel this way about Flip Flappers as well, which is also an actual feel-good anime for me. But I love shows that at least subtly or explicitly explore discovering like LGBTQ feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like I found a lot of my discovery in watching things like Madoka, because I was like very, very straight, and then suddenly I realized, no, I'm not straight at all. I think a lot of that has to do with watching a lot of anime.
Awesome.
And I think that helped with some catharsis and helping me figure myself out, literally. So,
very nice one.
So Madoka is a weirdly cathartic and feel-good piece.
I wish I could follow up with something equally as deep, but unfortunately I can't. Tanaka-kun is always listless, makes me really happy. Like, super happy, and I think it's also partially because it's one of the shows that my fiance and I just discovered, like, stumbled upon together and watched it together, and so some of those I tend to hold in very, like, warm, fuzzy feels, because it's like, oh yeah, we enjoyed this together! But it's just a silly comedy, so...
Sure, no.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones out there.
I think having good company can definitely make you enjoy something, even sometimes more than you would have if you'd watched it alone.
That's very true.
For sure.
Any more for you, Zach?
Films are easier for me to go back to most of the time. I don't usually have time to rewatch series.
That's fair.
So I definitely have gone back and revisited just End of Evangelion a couple times.
Ah, yes.
Because I
That
like
makes
feeling
you
those
feel
feelings. That
good.
makes me certain things.
Oof. Did we ever tell you about how Cassie and I had this proposed idea to get really high and watch End of Evangelion, but actually no, because it would fuck us up really bad?
Yeah, no, that'd be bad. That'd be experience for sure.
I still kind of want to try it. I want to do it.
You're braver than me, girl.
That's your suffering. So go for it.
Don't do it alone, please. Like I'll go through it with you if that means you won't watch it alone.
I'm never alone. I have all my friends in my heart.
But let me like be there with you on call or physically as well. Like let's just make that happen.
Or at least let one of your roommates supervise you or check in on from time to time. You good?
Just curled up on the floor. I don't know what life is anymore.
I mean, even if your roommates aren't there, or even if like your friends can't be there, maybe Killua could be there because it's nice to hang out with cats. Am I right? Precious cats.
Yeah. Who better to help you live through human instrumentality with?
As long as you're not the cats lay on the ground, you have slowly wrapping your hands around their throat at the end.
Okay, this segue just got really bad. Okay, big pause. Fuck the segue.
You know
we're moving into our review right now.
You know what has paws? Cats!
God. Oh, failed segue, but you know what? That's okay. The show that we're reviewing today is worth it, and it will heal all our wounds, hopefully. So today, we're going to be giving you a review of Doukyonin wa Hiza Tokidoki Atama no Ue, or My Roommate is a Cat. My Roommate is a Cat was produced by Studio Zero G. Other shows by them include Dive, Battery, and Grand Blue. And Cassie made a good point. All the other shows that we have covered from them in impressions, which in this case is Dive and Grand Blue, all sunk. so
They're still
good
drowning.
Look.
Like,
yeah, good look on Studio Zero G to get us started.
And I'm pretty sure I watched Battery with Cass back in the heyday too, and we didn't last very long.
No, it was so boring.
Not a great look for you, Studio Zero G. And then also this show aired in the winter season. So, again, we're really up to date and right on track. That's how we do over here. To hit you with a synopsis, Subaru Mikazuki is a 23-year-old mystery novel author, a major introvert, and an awkwardly shy person. He would much rather stay home to read a book than go outside and interact with others. Further exacerbating this life of solitude, his parents tragically died in an accident many years ago, leaving him alone in the world. One day, while giving offerings at his parents' grave, Subaru runs into a small gray and white cat named Haru, which he ends up taking home with him. Subaru, however, has never taken care of anyone else in his life. Can he even take care of a cat? Haru is grateful towards Subaru as he gives her all the food she wants, a luxury for a cat who used to have a rough life on the streets. But she notices that Subaru can't even seem to take care of himself. Will she be okay with this idiot? My Roommate is a Cat tells the story of an unlikely friendship between a human and a cat who try to foster an understanding with one another. So there is one thing in that synopsis that I just need to talk about where it says that his parents died many years ago, but the show opens with the funeral. Maybe it was a flashback.
I think it was a flashback. Like, I think it's implied some time has passed, but I don't think it's many years ago.
I thought it was like a year. I thought they said like it was like a year or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't many years ago. But either way, nitpicking of mal synopsises aside.
Also, was that synopsis written from the cat's perspective? Because that's what it felt like for a second. Just
I feel like in the second half it was when she calls Subaru an idiot.
An idiot? Yeah, that's where.
But that actually is that's actually an interesting place to start because that brings up a topic that I will bring up in our story discussion. I have a couple points to run us through. I think the first ones, and then I would love to hear your thoughts on them, is I noted that the show operates primarily as a slice of life, but it highlights a relationship between people and pets, and I think that is something that's not often shown through anime, even less made the spotlight in a lot of anime. And it also explores the themes of lost family, found family, which is another aspect that I like to see in anime, and I feel like is a story point that I don't see very often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess, like, what did you guys think about checking out a show where the highlight was going to be about, like, a pet relationship?
I was very excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I didn't sign up for this review only because I was so buried in schoolwork and anxiety, and which is really funny because this is the best show to watch for both of those things. As a good, like, break from schoolwork, and also just to remind me, like, to slow down. Because I think that that's a good aspect of the show, is slowing down and realizing all the good things around you, even when things seem to be the darkest. So I was really excited to go into a show about a cat.
Mm.
Yeah. Zac, I kind of begged you to be on this episode.
Yeah.
because due to logistics, I was like, I might end up hostless on this episode.
Yeah.
And then, but can I say that it was inspired by the fact that you and I previously at this time had just talked for like 20 minutes about animals and pets?
And that's just like our daily interactions for the most part. So
yeah.
Even today, I'm pretty certain. So
Yep. So I mean, I guess I was like, oh, it'd be cool to have Zac on for a show about pets because Zac has many pets. But like, did that end up being an interesting story point for you at all?
Not really. Because this is like not typically my genre. I also don't like watching shows or movies about animals. Usually because they're usually really
smart
sad.
Because you're smart. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know this was the case going into the show because I knew very little about the show. I didn't know about the backstory of the main character. I just knew it involved a cat and a dude. I didn't even know about the introverted stuff. I didn't know about his backstory. I didn't even know the cat talked, or at least had the inner monologue stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I did, I feel like that probably would off-put me because I don't really tend to like the animal can talk, have inner monologue stuff.
Yeah.
So that wasn't like a selling point for me. I probably would have never watched the show if you didn't ask me to be on it. And so
I actually definitely get the monologue thing as well. Like when I watched the PV, it wasn't made very clear it wasn't made clear. I think I thought that somehow they were going to have them talk to each other, and I was like, this is a little iffy. I don't know if I want to check that out. But I think for me, I was able to adjust to Haru having monologues. I think that does bring me to another question, and I wanted to know what you all thought of the choice to have each episode center around a small plot and be split between the two main characters' perspectives, because that is very much apparent in the way that the show is structured. And I don't know, I think it took me a little while to adjust to it, but then I ended up liking that because I feel like if it had been solely through Subaru's perspective or solely through Haru's perspective, I would have found it a little bit grating. And I think that they balanced having the different perspectives, and it gave kind of a nuance to the bond of them, like why one of them was thinking this way and the other one was thinking another way, but somehow they kind of meet in the middle. Like, I thought it was a nice little insightful touch myself.
I loved it.
Good.
For a couple of reasons. One, I actually love the inner monologues from Haru. They were like my favorite part of the show because I'm like, of course a cat would think this way. And I'm just really happy that they tried to keep Haru's thoughts very cat-like. They never made the cat seem like they understood what the hell was going on, because most of the time they don't. But having that little perspective was nice, and it was unique, and I enjoyed it a lot. Also, we spoke on it a little bit before, but Zero G is not necessarily known for its amazing animation quality. And having a show where they can repeat scenes for a logical purpose made a lot of sense to me, and it made things not as jarring. Like, if they had just replayed the same scenes over and over again with no purpose, I'd have been like, okay, I'm done with this by episode 2. but I
Mhm.
think that it was an interesting, and I don't know if this is the way the manga does it.
Yeah,
or
I'm not sure.
But if it is an anime only choice, I think it was smart because it saved them some budget. And also, I just oftentimes look at my cat and I'm like, what are you thinking? And I just like
Yeah.
having an opportunity to just even fictionally look at how a cat observes its surroundings, and it just made a lot of sense to me. I don't know, I liked it.
I agree with you. I think I did appreciate it. I think at first I just had to get used to it because it would suddenly like change in the first few episodes, and I was like, oh, okay, now we're in this perspective. But I think that I got used to it, and then they even kind of played with it more in the later episodes, and it wasn't necessarily like half and half. Like in the last episode, for example, they would do like 5 minutes and then maybe a couple minutes and then 10 minutes, and it just worked nice. Like it worked very well. Flowed like a natural conversation.
Yeah, if anything, I loved the back and forth almost until the end of the show. I think that most of the problems I have with the show are at the very beginning and at the very end.
Yeah, did you want to speak on the very beginning problems?
Well, for one, and we can all kind of, I guess, say how we feel about this character, and especially more so in the character section, because it seems like you really grew to like them a lot. But I was not a huge fan of the main character. I don't think that they set up his reasons for being the way he is very well. He just kind of seems like a standoffish kind of jerk at the beginning, more so than somebody suffering from pain and guilt and anxiety. I more just felt like he was kind of an asshole. Which made it really hard to identify with him or care about him or think that he had any capability of taking care of a pet. I was actually worried that the first few episodes were going to be about him, like, not necessarily abusing his animal, but neglecting his animal. And I was absolutely terrified that's where the story was going to go. But no, I think that, honestly, him being with the cat makes him a better person. And we see that as the show goes on, especially with how much he cares for him or for her, the cat. And also just, he just seems like a lost, stressed parent who never read the parenting manual. And I think that made me like him a little bit more. Him panicking over every little decision he has to make it made him more endearing than initially I expected.
Yeah. I will say that I completely agree with you. I probably wasn't as transparent about it during the impression, but like in the first 2 episodes, I was having a really hard time buying into caring about Subaru. I agree equally that he's very frustrating, and his reaction to things doesn't seem very justified. And I was like, look, this cat is cute, but I don't know if this is the only thing that's going to carry me through this show. But literally the turning point for me personally was episode 3. And then, in my opinion, I think that it did develop well past that. Like, it gave me a good turning point in episode 3, and then it kind of continued to do what I wanted it to do. So I was pretty happy with that. I like the fact that this show addresses processing with some mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, and grief. Which was one I was not expecting, but was really happy to get insight to. Sure. And it's all through having an animal, and I really appreciate that myself personally.
Agreed. Like, I really like that part of the show, which is using how your friends, family, or pets in this regard. I mean, he gets others because of the pet helped him open up a lot more. But using that as like a healing mechanism to get over a past trauma, I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, I agree completely.
For sure.
Yeah, that's all my notes on story, and we can go into characters if y'all are ready. Oh, actually, I had one question, and then actually you go first, Cassie.
I was just gonna say, in regards to the story, I think that the beginning was a little rough, but going back and thinking about it in hindsight, I think that was kind of what the show was going for. I don't think you're supposed to necessarily be Subaru's #1 fan in the first couple of episodes. I think his growth is what makes you like him as a character. And I think for the most part, the show is really well paced. I do think the last episode or so, I think that I liked that most of the issues that they had were mundane issues. like going
Yeah,
to
I
the
get that.
vet or learning what kind of food to feed them because they're fat or, because I'm having that same problem with my cat right now. I just took him to the vet and they're like, yeah, he's a little chunky,
He's a little chonker.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, they were like, you need to, get him to lose a little bit of weight. Oh, and I'm like, oh, no, what do we do with the food? And blah, 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 blah. And I mean, I loved that. And then I felt like the last couple episodes were a little melodramatic.
A little bit, yeah. You could tell it was like the forced conflict in like the penultimate episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like to get the show a sense of like finality, by having this big build-up conflict, like it felt like it was building up to in a sense, and so forth. So it gives you some dramatic tension, but it feels a little forced.
Yeah,
I agree.
I get it.
Look at Zac over here explaining things like I can't. Thank you for your eloquency, sir.
Yeah, I do have to agree. I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
My one other question that I totally forgot, and definitely I wanted y'all's insight as cat owners, but I guess how accurate did you guys find some of the cat moments? For example, when Haru lays smack dab on Subaru's laptop, or runs away when he tries to get the collar on her, or when she fucking wrestles her way out of the goddamn the cat carrier. Just those very like cat TM moments. Did those feel accurate to you?
The cat laying on him in bed when he's sick is definitely gave me some flashbacks for certain.
Same.
When I had a cat. So I'm like, that's accurate. 100%.
Yeah.
Nice.
I also think that a lot of the like bonding moments with the cat were really realistic. Like when he first gave him or gave her, I keep saying he for some reason for the cat. I don't know why, but gave her some food. And she was like very like, I don't know if I want this at first. And you realize why later, and it's kind of cute.
Yeah.
But then like when she ate it, he was so happy. And like getting to bond with your cat over food is like the best way to do it. Like I like that a lot of the feelings and emotions around the two were surrounded around food, or like him eating when she does and stuff like that. I also like when she was trying to get the can behind the boxes of stuff, because Killua's definitely pawed at food in places when his bowl was right there. Stuff like that. Like, I think that Haru is a very convincing cat. And they did a lot to like explain those mannerisms too, which I found very fun.
Yeah, I found them a lot of it believable. And doesn't correlate to my cat when I had a cat, but my cat was a very outdoorsy cat, so not an indoor cat. So there's a lot of different aspects of how she approached things.
Right.
I think a lot of like the backstory stuff, like when it shows outdoorsy and how cats can be so territorial, was a little bit more fitting in my regard. Because my cat was the bad bitch on the block.
Bad bitch kitty.
Yeah, pretty much. I've heard my cats come back from fights before, and had to mend her wounds when she was in her late part of life, when she couldn't fight as well as she used to. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, good times. I've had a cat too, but it was like years ago, so that's why I wanted the fresh takes. Awesome. Well then. Yeah, we can move on into characters. And you know what? I'm fucking making Zac go first.
Yeah.
Because he has a goddamn tuna can as his icon in this call. Putting you on blast here.
My favorite character is the tuna can. Big central piece of the character. It's actually a driving force for a lot of the characters in the show. So, because you said Foon was the big bond between the two leads.
Don't you take those words out of my mouth.
So I'm just saying, you set it up, and I'm just taking it.
You don't earn those words.
I can hear you bullshitting this paper right now. Like literally, you are like.
It's 3 a.m. It's due in 4 hours.
I'm so mad because it's definitely in 16 font and not double spaced.
Oh God, Zac, just
Comic Sans.
I wouldn't go that far. I want my paper to be accepted. So,
why are you
what do you want to know?
I want to. I'm stuck on this because I thought you would have been the Taro stan with me. Why is it not the dog, Zac? Why is it not the dog?
I mean, I like the dog. The dog's super goofy and a fun character. The other character I was thinking of before that was the Fuko. I think its name is Fuko. The larger cat in Okami-san's apartment, but that's because voiced by Kenjiro Suda, and I love his voice. So,
That
and that's really the only reason for that one.
He's pretty good, though. I like the scene where
Yeah.
he's just like, I'll protect you. Let me show you how. And then he just gets picked up and loved. And
Okay, just
Yeah.
Kenjiro Suda has just like this natural drawl to his voice, like yes, because he's like other
Dreamy.
characters, like he's the giraffe from Starlight.
Oh, God.
Red Starlight, and he's in Golden Kamui as this like sniper character. He's Seto Kaiba in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, so it's like he's kind of like has this natural like drawl to his voice or something like that, and I just love hearing it, and it's immediately recognizable to me when I hear it, so. I drew
There
to
you
that
go.
cat very instantly.
Nice. I like his
Even though
design. Isn't he designed to look like old and wise a little bit?
Yeah, and he's a bigger cat. Like he's bigger than the rest of the cats we've seen in the show and stuff.
he's so
it's like
fat.
he comes off as more, and I think with the voice too, he's like he comes off as more intimidating. And clearly not. Like he's like, I'll take care of this. I'll show you, and he does like that cutesy little moment. So
Yeah. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
but like. Subaru's really, like I said, I agree with the beginning of the show. He's a little hard to relate to because he's very one note because it's all about his books obsession at some points and not really dives into his other aspects of his antisocial behavior and his social anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
But the later parts of the show can hit really hard in certain aspects. Like when he went to his book signing,
Oh, God.
that was really hard for me to watch because I was like, oh God, this is, or my favorite. When he goes to the grocery store and he just feels obligated to take everything. And I'm like, I definitely have done that. And then when his friend comes and returns everything for him, he's like, oh, I'm so happy that you're doing it.
He's like, my friend.
I was like, oh, you're so happy. You're my friend. It's stuff like that. I was like, I feel yeah. I've definitely been that guy. I was like, hey, talk to me for a bit. Well, okay, since you started talking, I'll listen. Well, here, take this thing or buy this thing. Well, okay, I'll take it.
I feel that. I feel like I feel like almost anybody can have that deals with social anxiety and other things just kind of has a moment of Subaru where they can feel very seen. Mine was the episode when the children came over to the house because I just feel like I don't know how to interact with kids.
I agree to a certain extent as well.
Says the teacher's
fact, you
assistant.
have to deal with a large, especially dealing with a large group of people too, and you just don't know what to deal with that. And at the very end, it's like I'm so exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually that's one of my favorite lines in the entire show. And it was what Subaru said about how like sometimes situations are like scary and they're exhausting and a little bit exciting, but it's only after you've experienced that and you're reflecting on it, you say, once in a while, this isn't so bad. And I was like, fuck, man. That I feel that a lot on just especially like social interactions, like when I do like when I would spend time in big groups or do something that normally I wouldn't want to do, but then in the aftermath where I'm just kind of laying there in like silence the night after or something like that, and I'm like, this isn't something I could do every day, but I'm glad that I did it, and maybe this isn't so bad to try new things once in a while. Like that shit hit me hard. I don't know. It just did. But basically for all of the reasons that you said, that's why I think Subaru ended up being my favorite character. Because yeah, initially I found him hard to understand. I didn't enjoy him, but like his development for me was very much a joy to watch. And I felt, as a person with anxiety, I felt very seen in a lot of his development and the way that he acts. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going like, yo, save the book when I fall in the puddle.
No.
But like the other aspects of his character, or even I appreciate also using pets. I said this earlier with using pets to help you get over the traumas of your life and has as a healing mechanism. I just love that aspect. That's why I always felt attached to his character and that half of the story specifically more so when I was watching the show.
Oh, completely.
Yeah. Or even just confronting your trauma in general, because it seems like at the point that, he's obviously going to visit his parents' graves. He understands what happened, but it's not until he takes Haru in that he goes into their room. He looks at, the photo albums, and eventually he's able to get up the courage to go on this trip without much context because I don't want to spoil it for people. But he never would have done that if he hadn't, had this pet and learned to reach out to those around him and realize he even had a support system. And I think that that's very valuable. And it was a natural progression for his character. And it was really well done.
Yeah, and once as Haru enters his life, you see him go from someone who's completely isolated to somebody whose world starts getting connected. I mean, he makes connections with Okami-san and her brother, having to get Haru pet supplies. He gets closer to his editor, along with his neighbor. His world really expands through having Haru there, and Haru is a constant. Not to mention, Haru herself honestly has a lot of trauma and drawbacks that she doesn't know how to address. And having Subaru there in his indirect way helps teach her things as well.
For sure. 150%. Yeah.
Also, even though I'm not a big fan of the cat monologue portions of the story, I'm not a monster, okay? Especially when the cat talks about how much she loves her human and wants to protect her human, I can get behind that as well.
She's nurturing and she thinks that she has to take care of him.
Yeah.
My poor pathetic human. Look, you're so pathetic. I need to make sure you're fine. I need to protect you. So.
Yeah. Or I need to give you my food because you're not eating. Or she'd be like, why aren't you eating this food I brought to you? What the fuck?
And in a way, she's kind of right.
She's great. Haru is great. I love Haru.
On that note, I did want to give you the floor as you have Haru as your chat icon. So why don't you tell us more about why she's your favorite?
She is just such a good cat. She's weirdly for being a stray, she's very weirdly accepting of her place, which is really cool. She's taken in by Subaru, and it's not like it takes her very long to warm up to him, but there is still that moment of, what is this new place? Oh, I'll get food here and then I'll leave. But then she grows to be just as attached to her human as he is to her, and it's very naturally brought on, I think, mostly by Haru. I think that she does a lot of the work in starting that relationship, and Subaru does a really good job of maintaining it and helping her learn new things as well, being a new domesticated house kitty. I also think that the cat monologues are my favorite part of the show. I think that they're the part that I looked forward to the most. I did love a lot of the first halves of the show, especially when it started getting to the later half, and I really saw a lot of introspection from Subaru. I think one of the most sad thing I watched was when he tried to get her attention and for her to come to him, and she didn't really get it and didn't, and he looked so heartbroken, and I'm like, that's a mood, brah. Because Killua still doesn't come to me. I don't know what this man's secret is, but anyway.
I mean, my cat never came to me in my life either.
Yeah.
Unless she wants to, so.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that they really illustrated Haru as a believable feline, and also one that really had her own personality, and I love that she was just kind of like the tsundere older sister cat. I love that kind of trope. Normally it has to do with humans, but the fact that it's reflected in a cat, I really liked as well. And I don't know, I could go on for days about how much Haru just made this show for me. I think that all the other elements were great and wonderful and explored, but again, the show wouldn't even exist if Haru wasn't in it. So I think as a centerpiece, she does an amazing job.
She is so sweet and so caring, and I have in my notes that she is just very nurturing, and it's honestly really impressive when you consider her backstory.
When they had that little quick, I think I messaged you when I started the show and was like, hey, so the random flashback scene in episode 1 where you just see 2 images of Haru's backstory, that's heavy, brah. Yeah, and then it just gets sadder, and I just am like, I love that they, approach this realistically to cats being outside, especially baby cats, but I also just want to kill whoever left these cats in a box outside. I don't know, I just get very upset when I see cats left I've seen it multiple times when I lived in South Carolina, like just cats in boxes on the side of the road, and I'm like, why do people do this? Why? But that has nothing to do with Haru. Well, it does, but it doesn't. But yeah, she does great at bringing not just Subaru and her together, but also giving Subaru, for example, a chance to go and talk to Okami, who I selfishly was hoping for a romance because I'm just dumb like that. And I felt like they kind of teased it at the book signing. But yeah, that's not what this show is about, and I'm totally fine with them not committing to the bit, if there even is a bit there, but it's something I wanted.
Girl, you are not alone. I also shipped them a lot, and I do feel like it's something that could happen in the future.
Maybe.
Like they could get together in the future. They're definitely going to keep talking. But yeah, they had a really nice chemistry going on. But when I really thought about it, you know, if he got together with her like right at the end, I don't think it'd be the most believable because he's just learning how to socialize again.
I ship it. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
they're super cute together, and I could see it happening in the future. And not only is she nice to Subaru, but she also always teaches him things since she works at the pet shop and has that experience.
Yeah.
I really liked hearing all her little like bits of wisdom, like putting the food in the bottle for the cat.
I kind of want to try that because, again, Killua's so fat, and I don't think he's very active, so maybe I should give that a try. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard of that technique before, and definitely also the same thing for dogs. Zach, tell me if you've heard of the peanut butter in the Kong method. Oh, okay. Well, it's basically the same sort of principle. It's like freezing peanut butter inside of Kongs. The dog has to play for a long time to be able to get it, and then he should be all played out. But yeah, getting back to Okami, I really like that she's always kind of a resource point, and really just visually, I think she's really cute.
She was cute.
Yeah, she was cute.
She was cute.
I like her character design.
I also like that she was, like you said, a consistent point of knowledge. Because, God, did he desperately need it. I like the one part where she got kind of angry at him, like when he was pouring the food out and showing like how much food he gives to Haru on a daily basis, and she like audibly got like, what the fuck?
I think probably my favorite scene was when Subaru was trying to buy a collar in the pet shop, and then she's like, oh, okay, so tell me about your cat, tell me the name, and he goes, Subaru, and she asks age, he says 23, and then he's like, oh, no, she meant the cat, not me. She thought he had like a super old cat.
That was funny. It was cute.
I thought that bit was really cute.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going into other minor characters, of Subaru's editor, who was always like, Haru-chan! Did you find that joke funny? Was it not?
No, not at all. But I liked him. He was silly.
Yeah, he was more comedic relief, but I did like his moment that he had in the bookstore. That was probably the most I felt attached to the character.
Yeah, when he like thanked him or whatever.
But the same thing about the best friend, too, until the backstory with the best friend, too, because otherwise he's just a moocher who takes his food and brings his siblings over unannounced.
Yeah, he felt kind of one note to me, but after we got some backstory, I really enjoyed his character more. You can tell that he really does care about Subaru in his own way. So, anyone else? I love Taro, obviously. Best side character, makes me so happy. But with that, I think we've just about covered them all.
Sure. I think that, like, just as a final thought, I think the characters in the show are pretty decent. I like them.
I would like to know what the best friend character, I'm spacing on his name, what he eats every episode. This little pink stick thing.
The hot dog. It's a hot dog.
It's a hot dog?
I thought it was like a
that's so
fish
weird.
stick thing.
I guess it's probably
I
more
had no
like a
idea.
sausage. I have seen them in other
thought-
anime before.
Yeah,
I thought it was just like a poorly animated, like Slim Jim-esque thing.
No,
I'm
it's
I don't know what the
it's like a fish sausage. It's in a lot of other anime, though. I will say it's weirdly animated in this
I
one.
don't know. It's really weird looking. So
Yeah, if there's one thing I can say, I didn't want to eat it myself. So production, though, as we said at the top of the episode, this show is done by Zero Chi, and gauging by the rest of their library, it might be a hot take for me to say that I think that this might be their best work visually so far. What do you think?
From what I've seen, I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's a pretty introspective take.
A mild take. A tepid take.
A tepid take.
So with that said, it clearly comes that the art and animation in this show, for the most part, is a little bit underwhelming. It's not really anything special. There are a lot of stills. It can look inconstant. But it didn't destroy the show for me. It still feels like they tried to conserve budget in thoughtful ways and pay attention to art during key moments. When it was really emotional moments, they made sure it looked nice.
What do you think, Zach?
Plus, it's just such a simple show, so it's like it doesn't need anything like super out there animation style wise. It's just the dude and his cat, and they're just living their life. It doesn't need like anything extraordinary.
Since it was a slice of life, it didn't really demand a whole bunch animation wise.
I gotta say, the longer I look at that can, the more I think that it's one of the better animated things in the show.
I mean, it's a pretty well detailed
It
can.
is, isn't it?
You can see the label pretty well. The cat faces also, you guys point out, like pre-pod, pretty well done.
For sure. Honestly, I think where this production maybe had some like pretty bland or simple character designs, it definitely made up for it in expression work. I think on all of the characters, sometimes when Subaru was anxious, his just like dead checked out faces were great. I'm posting a bunch of pictures that I actually saved in the chat. Spoiler alert, they are all Haru because they spent all of the budget on making totally creative Haru faces. Let's be real.
I'm very looking forward to this. But yeah, I'd agree with both of you. It's pretty underwhelming animation, but at the same time, like, it didn't need to be overwhelmingly good. There was no reason for it.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting like random Sakuga. Like I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been impressed, or like I would have enjoyed it if it was there, but it wasn't necessary. This isn't a high budget demanding show, but I do think that they put care, like you said, where it needed to be, like in Haru's faces especially. I love how well animated her matted fur was, as opposed to when she like was, you know, more taken care of. I think that they used some attention to detail where it was necessary, and where they did, I really appreciated it.
Yeah, I also like how, because like you're posting some of these images right now for us to look at, and it just reminded me that how in a Subaru side story it's pretty normal, but in the cat's perspective it's a lot more animated, a lot more out there, because it's from the cat's perspective of things, so how she sees things and how she imagines herself in those moments. I think that's a nice touch.
Exactly. They're able to have the cat's expression reflect just how she sounds in her monologues. I think my favorite one is like when her face puffs up and she says, "I won."
Yeah, a little inflated, like to represent her in kind of like inflated ego type thing. So.
And cats are just such egotistical creatures that I loved that.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know who else's personality they nailed down completely? Taro's. Again, I know I must be the only one that really loved this dog, but like he was just so dopey all the time.
I mean, Taro was great.
And he's just always smiley.
The dog's just happy all the time and just has the same expression majority of the time. So
I love the scene when Subaru is watering the plants and then he ends up like watering over the bush, and then you just see Taro and he's jumping like up and down. He's like, water, 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 and he has these like stupid flailing positions. Like, I don't know. Every time that he was on screen, it just made me laugh or smile. And just like Haru, his voice actor really reflected his nature just by giving him a really light, airy, funny voice that I thought, honestly, was just really pleasant to listen to.
You know what was also pleasant? The opening.
Yes, completely. Absolutely.
I liked it. I the song grew on me. I think I always love the animations, how they jump through different like genres of novels and how things transitioned. I loved Haru being in the pumpkin.
I liked that one too.
It was nice.
In my notes I wrote, OP is cute as fuck and it makes me want to dance. And actually, to be fair, watching the last few episodes, I did get up and dance. Something about those bopping cattails just made me need to like bop my hips and dance. To be fair, I think Get danced a little bit too.
Next time you visit, I'm going to play that song the moment you walk in the door, and I hope you do a little dance. I want to see the Cammy, my roommate is a cat dance.
Just make sure that we have a couple drinks beforehand, and then I think you'll really enjoy it.
Okay, sounds good. Got it. Noted.
Now, I do have to ask, Zac, knowing your nature with openings, did you listen to this one while you watched it, or did you skip it?
I watched it for the first couple episodes, but yeah, I pretty much started skipping it towards it. It's not a matter of dislike. I thought this, actually, from the get-go, I kind of liked the song. The opening animations and stuff were okay, but I liked the song. It was pleasant, but I did skip it for time's sake, so...
That's fair.
I respect your lifestyle choices, even if I don't approve.
I mean, look, certain shows I do, and some shows I don't. This was one of those. I'm like, yeah, I like this, but I'm just gonna skip it for time's sake. So I mean, I did for Fruits Basket as well. That show we mentioned very earlier, but that's like a very slow-paced opening. So, but I love that opening.
I just love how sweetly Cammy throws shade.
I did it again. I'm sorry.
It's like if we're not talking about dogs, it's usually Cammy throwing shade at me. So,
it's like she said it in such the nicest ways possible, but I'm familiar with your tendencies.
She's like, I like you as a person, but I don't care for your lifestyle. Night coffee, skipping anime openings.
I mean, look, that's basically it, yeah.
But do you skip Cruel Angel Thesis?
Yes, do you?
Only in mass marathons, but that's with any show, so.
That's not okay.
That's not approved.
I mean, it's one of the greatest anime openings of all time, but if I'm like trying to marathon 10
there's
episodes of
always enough time.
Zac, there is a line that's being drawn by Cassie and I, and you are just disregarding, crossing that line so hard right
He's like
now.
Dancing on the line. He don't give a shit. He's doing limbo poses underneath the line.
I just hope you know I'm looking into the camera and I am making that face that you said. That's a sign of disapproval. Back on sound in this show, I found the soundtrack to be on the sparse and simple side. There were even some moments of just silence where I noticed, hey, there's a lack of soundtrack here. But they did have some good tracks during happy and emotional moments. There was one in particular that had a combination of gentle piano and woodwinds that was able to give my heart the warm fuzzies when it needed to. For example, a big scene at the end of episode 3 that I can't really get into detail due to spoilers, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. I also thought that they did a pretty good job with the Foley work concerning animals, like the sounds of Haru's paws pit-patting on different surfaces, for example. I did notice some like stock animal sounds, like some cat meows that you hear in a bunch of movies and stuff, but other than that, it was pretty good.
Yeah, that's lower production costs, TV budget things in general, plus just so many ways you can make the same cat noises. So it's like,
yeah, they didn't rely on them too much, but I just noticed it a little bit.
Yeah, there was nothing off-putting. Like the fact that I never took note of it means it's probably did its job well enough. So
also, Haru's VA is perfect.
Agreed, she is pretty perfect.
Subaru was also okay, but Haru was perfect.
He's not Haru or anything. Haru is untouchable for you.
I get this feeling you like Haru, but I'm not sure on it yet.
Yeah, I obviously need to sell it a little bit better. I did have a couple more questions. Did you guys like the ED? Because we kind of talked about the OP, but not the ED.
Skipped it every time. Anyway.
I watched through it each time. It wasn't really anything special. It's just kind of your typical cute fanfare. But it had some really sweet illustrations in it.
I'm going to be honest, after the first couple times watching it, I skipped.
That's understandable.
I pulled a Zac.
As a natural habit, I tend to skip EDs anyway, just because it's like, again, next episode, or I'm done. I don't need to watch anymore. Why would I want to watch the credits? I'm over this.
I mean, if it's a really good ED, like, for example, like the Run with the Wind EDs, like, I never skip the Run with the Wind EDs. Not once.
I agree. There are a couple. Like, usually, like, the first episode, I'll watch the ED, and that might determine whether I'll come back and visit it again. Or determine whether it's... Because I have a habit nowadays of skimming through the EDs, because sometimes shows like to stick stuff at the very end.
Yeah.
And so that determines whether I'll watch through it or skip it, or sometimes... Run with the Wind is a good example. Utena has some of my favorite EDs, too, for example. So it's like...
We should have a topic that's just EDs that we really like. Because I feel like EDs are something that people don't talk about a whole lot. But yeah, I think I skipped it after the first couple times, but I thought it was sweet.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the comedy of the show? I don't know if it's really fitting in production.
That's fine.
I mean, we could talk about whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never found it all that funny, personally, but I'm very hard. I know I'm dead on the inside and a hard sell when it comes to anime comedy, so I know that. I think some of it's maybe due to the pacing or just the jokes are not as funny to me, but
it depended on the joke.
I think it depended.
Certain cat habits are funny, but that's just because relatability for me, not more so probably like the execution. Personally.
I think for me, it definitely came down to a lot of the expression work is where I tended to enjoy it. Case in point, all of the Haru faces. Those were stronger moments of comedy for me. And occasionally some of the awkward, like too real TM moments were funny. I wasn't like, oh my god, it's so funny, but I chuckled a bit.
You found a better way for me to say, I liked when Subaru was experiencing distress. Because
I mean,
those were the exact words I was going to use, and then you were like, oh, the two real TM moments, the Subaru experiences. That's how it makes me sound like a much better person to say. I'm going to keep that.
I laugh at his pain because I understand his pain.
I laugh at your pain because I feel it at the same time.
It's an awkward laughter because I relate too much, and I laugh to hide the pain right now that I'm feeling.
But yeah, one of the points of comedy that they really tried to hammer in was the manager dude and Haru not getting along. Like Haru scratching him. And the first time it was funny. Yeah. But then they kept it going and I was like, all right. I think the only time I liked it was there was a scene where you find out Haru warmed up to another character very quickly and the manager just is heartbroken. That was kind of funny.
Bad for the dude after a while. I'm like, man, poor dude.
Yeah.
Just can't get a break.
I was like, but I also, just like with Subaru, whenever he was just sad, I was like, this is funny.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I'm a bad person.
You are not. You are perfectly good.
But yeah, to answer your question, Zach, sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Yeah, I think it was like hit or miss. I was never like, oh, this is bad. It was really just like kind of really the one moment that Cassie mentioned. I was like, yeah, okay, recurring joke. Stop. It's not funny. Yeah. But otherwise, I'm pretty much in agreement. It was okay.
Now we can go into ratings.
We're good? Okay.
Make Zach go first. He has a tuna can as his icon.
That's right.
That's why I went first with the characters, though.
No, you're still repenting.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Didn't accept my paper. All right. The show was all right. It's cute at times, and like I said, it gave me some feels from here and there. But overall, this is not really my type of show. But I could totally see why you guys like it, and other people would get super into it too. I think I would probably personally just give it a check it though, because that's what people should check it out if it's your thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Good way to go, Cassie.
That was so short and concise. I feel like I should also be short and concise and just get to the point. But I know that that's not who I am as a person.
Yeah,
that's what we love you for.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like a love it, I would not shut the fuck up.
That's very fair. That is very fair. Well, let me go ahead and turn to page 1 of my thesis.
Okay.
Page flip. No, I think that My Roommate is a Cat is a really good healing anime. It's one of the reasons why I suggested the topic at the beginning of this episode was because I felt like this show shows healing and those who watch it can experience some healing through watching it. I think it's wonderful in that aspect. I do think the story... You know what's weird? I think I might have liked the show if it was shorter. Or liked it more. Because I feel like the latter couple episodes started to drag, and then I felt like the end of the show was so melodramatic. Even though I still felt good about it, I wasn't, like, as happy with the show as I was in, like, episode 3 to episode 7 or so. I don't want to say it overstayed its welcome, because I don't think it did. I just think it could have been, as Zach sometimes says, a tighter package.
I agree. Like, there are definitely even certain episode lengths where I feel like certain plot lines are stretched out a bit more to fit the 22 episode length time at times. So.
Yeah, which isn't necessarily a detriment, but it is something that I think affected the score of the show a little bit for me. But at its core, I think that this is a great healing anime. I think it's a good anime about animals. I think it's one of the better ones out there, actually, because there's so many anime that have animals in them, but not as the centerpiece. And I love having a show with an animal as the centerpiece, especially a cat, because I'm selfish and I love cats and I want more animes about cats. I also think that the relationship that's built between Haru and Subaru is so genuine and perfect that it is what kept me watching until the very end and enjoying the show to the very end, even if my enjoyment wasn't as much as it was at different parts of the show. I think that this show is great for people who are animal lovers or who are going through a rough time and are wondering how animal pet therapy works, because this is a good Exhibit A to show that it does work, because I think that it is a really, honestly, good depiction. It didn't feel fantastical in any way that Subaru was healed through this relationship with his cat. That being said, so I don't go on for the entire 6 pages I wrote in my brain, I'm going to go ahead and give this a really high like it. I think that it's a really, really good show, but its only real detriment is some of the pacing towards the end, its long run time, and the fact that I kind of selfishly wish that it was slightly better animated.
I think that's fair, yeah. I think a lot of people probably have that, even if they enjoyed the show.
For sure. I don't think it's a detriment that it wasn't super well animated. We covered this in production, but I just think it would have been nice. But, I still liked the show a whole lot. I think it's one of the better healing animes I have in my pocket.
Oh, good. I'm glad. All right. I would definitely say a lot of similar things along the same line as Cassie. I went into this show not really knowing much about it, and I think, if I recall, I wasn't super into a lot of the stuff that came out in this season, and I was like, oh, this looks like it could be cute, this looks like it could be soft, it's a cat and a guy, sure, I'll add it to my list. And then I watched the first couple episodes and I was feeling kind of lukewarm on it, but after episode 3 I decided to give it a chance, and coming back to it and being able to finish it, I think as well, it's a nice little hidden gem, I think. It does depend on your mileage, as Zac mentioned earlier, but for me, as somebody that does tend to like shows in this genre, as somebody who loves animals, I think that it's a really special little show that might really touch people personally who have had pets, and maybe it makes them think about that. So definitely try to give it a watch. There are definitely fallbacks, not all the comedy lands. Sometimes the story beats are a little corny, but overall, I found myself really, really enjoying this anime. So I am also going to go ahead and give it a like it. It is a solid, good, feel-good show. So there you go.
Yeet.
And if you can't get off of the feels train, might we recommend a show called Poco's Udon World, or I think it's Udon Kini no Kemari, which is, as Cassie talked to me about earlier, just a show that really does explore like an isolated young man who is, by strange circumstances, bestowed a companion of sorts, and it leads to a lot of introspection and growth and explores like family. And it's also super feel good, and I think more people should watch it.
Yeah.
So take that recommendation and do so. All right. Yeah, you go ahead and do so. With that out of the way, let me hit you with some social links. If you want to get in touch with us, as always, you can go to twitter.com/AnnieChatbox or send us some email. Hate mail is not appreciated at AnnieChatmail@gmail.com.
I guess I'll stop my email then.
Is that how you were going to send us your paper?
Yeah.
Right.
I already got the headline and everything. And just a giant picture of the can.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no. If you want to listen to us, check us out at iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. You certainly have your options available. And if you are feeling charitable of sorts, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/AnnieChatbox. Shout out to our patrons, Sarah, CorpsyAnn, Carol, Suki, Paul, and TroubleClef. Thank you for helping us keep the lights on. Thank you for picking us up out of that little box and deciding that we deserved a second chance at life filled with lots of good food and love and support. You are the best. And if you are like, why the hell isn't Zac on every episode, guys? What's the matter with you? He brings all these awesome hot takes, and you want to hear him more, along with our friend Craig, you can go ahead and go to soundcloud.com/Save Our Progress to listen to their awesome podcast. They recently just covered an anime film. Which film was that, Zac?
That'd be Premiere by Imaishi from also Studio Trigger.
So there you go. They do monthly anime movie nights, so if you really do want to hear them spin on anime, that's an assured way to do so. They also incorporate it into some of their other general episodes, like a Jeopardy episode they had recently, where I got 14 questions right on the anime category in Jeopardy. It was a grand old time.
Yes, I
Actually,
so
live messaged me during, may I point out. So.
Yes.
That episode was actually very fun to listen to. I had a
very
good time.
fun.
I enjoyed it.
Very well put together. So yeah, you should totally check them out as well. All right, and we are not going to have a spoiler room this time, so we're actually about to mosey on out of here. This has been episode 128 of the Annie Chatbox. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a good night.
Watch Poco's Udon World.
Do it!
Snoochie poochies.
Just do what?